Welcome, have a nice day. Today is Sunday, 27th of April 2025. Last Sunday of this month, starting the newspaper with the world news, including Trump's first 100 days. About half of Americans say Trump has been a terrible president near full highs. FBI Chief Cash Patel posted photo of a detained Wisconsin judge violates Justice Department's policy. A letter written on board the Titanic before it sank sells for almost $4 lakh at auction. ICE reports the mother of the infant and a 2-year-old who is a United States citizen. Palestinian leader Abbas named as likely successor in a bid to reassure world powers. Brazil's lipstick cop, a protester, jailed for 14 years for defacing statue during riot. Now, starting the newspaper with the Hindu newspaper, Hamas is open to 5-year Gaza Trust one-time hostages release. A Hamas delegation was in Cairo discussing with the Egyptian mediators ways out of the 18-month war, while on the ground, rescuers said Israeli strikes killed at least 35 people. Hamas has opened an agreement to end the war in the Gaza that would see all hostages released and secure a 5-year truce on officials said Saturday as the group's negotiators held talks with the mediators. A Hamas delegation was in Cairo discussing with the Egyptian mediators ways out of the 18-month war, while on the ground, rescuers said Israeli strikes killed at least 35 people. Massive explosion at Iranian port linked to missile fuel shipment. 5 kills 5, injuries over 700. The port took in a shipment of sodium perchlorate, rocket fuel. In a March, private security firm Abray says the fuel was going to be used to replenish Iran's missile stocks. In this photo provided by Iranian student news agency ISNA, a helicopter drops of water on the fire after a massive explosion rocked a port near the southern port city of Bandar Abbas, Iran on 26 April 2025. A massive explosion and a fire rocked a port Saturday, April 26, 2025 in the southern Iran port, reportedly linked to a shipment of a chemical ingredient used to make a missile propellant, killing 5 people and injuring more than 700 others. Mehrdad Hassanzada, a provisional disaster management official, gave the updated casualty figure in an interview on the state television. The previous toll was 4 dead and more than 500 other injured. Now, going towards the Hindustan Times newspaper states that India-China Kailash Mansarovar Yatra to be held between the June month and August. The External Affairs Minister said the entire process for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, from online applications to the selection of pilgrims, has been fully computerized since 2015. New Delhi, India on Saturday announced the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra to be the Tibet region after the gap of 5 years, another step in the normalization of ties with China after the military standoff in Ladakh sector of the Line of Actual Control (LAC). The External Affairs Minister said a year's pilgrimage will be held through the Liplek Pass in the Uttarakhand and the Nathula in Sikkim. The pilgrimage to Mount Kailash and Mansarovar Lake in Tibet Autonomous Region had been suspended since 2020, initially because of the COVID-19 pandemic and then the protracted face-off on the Line of Actual Control. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, organized by the Ministry of External Affairs, is set to take place during the June to August 2025, the ministry said in a statement. The Park and Bight of Indus Water Treaty. To craft an effective disciplinary tool, it is the flow of these western rivers, the Indus, the Jahlim, and the Chenab, which hold 80% of the river system's water that India must control. To answer this, let us go back to when Pakistan was born and Kashmir was torn apart. The Indus River system, which flows from India to Pakistan, did not oppose the partition. Although a standstill agreement maintained the pre-partition water allocation in October month of 1947, Pakistan-backed rebels attacked Kashmir. So on April 1st, 1948, When the standstill agreement expired, India flexed its hydrological muscles by turning off the tap. As a result, 5.5% of the Pakistan's agricultural land dried up before sowing, and Lahore lost its main municipal water source. Pakistan had to pay for any water it received through the Indus River system. A ceasefire agreement followed by and Kashmir became a former part of India. According to the senior Pakistani negotiator of the Indus Water Treaty, India held all the cards at the time, evidence that water can be a powerful disciplinary tool. Ceasefire pact under strain as India returns Pakistani salvo at a line of control. Parliamentary soldiers stand guard near Pahalgam on April 22nd, 2025. Pakistani forces opened a fire at multiple points along the line of control for a second day on Saturday, an escalation in hostilities that threatens the February 2021 ceasefire agreement, officials aware of the matter said. Scores of Indian posts across the North Kashmir were targeted on Friday night, sparking the most extensive cross-border exchange in 4 years as a Pakistani salvo was returned. The official said on Saturday, asking not to be named. Unlike isolated brief exchanges that were quickly resolved through the established channels, since the 2021 ceasefire agreement, the current pattern involves the simultaneous salvos at multiple points across the most of the 740-kilometer frontier and has persisted with the increasing frequency since the April month of 2020, since the April month 22 of Pahalgam terror attacks, signaling a possible intent towards escalation, the official said. Now, going towards the economy of the country from the business point of view, India's household debt increases but manageable. Savings down, what Morgan Stanley report says. The uptick in household debt and the simultaneous decline in household net financial savings has sparked concerns about the leverage and stress in the household balance sheet. India's total household saving, financial and physical, and was marginally down at 18.1% of GDP in financial year 2024 against 19% of GDP pre-pandemic, Morgan Stanley said. India could have its Latin America moment aimed at ongoing United States-China trade war, says Richard Baldwin. Richard Baldwin, a professor of international economics at IMD Business School, said that middle powers like India could similarly secure a foothold in the global supply chains aimed at the ongoing United States-China trade war. In the 19th century, Latin America had very little manufacturing because British dominance in the manufacturing effectively deindustrialized much of the world, including India, Richard Baldwin said. Now, going to the science and tech, we had Telangana had more preventable C-section among the southern states at 3.1%. Kerala had the lowest number of preventable C-sections, while Telangana had the highest at 8.4%. Preventable C-sections was 5.4% for the Andhra Pradesh, 6.2% for the Karnataka, and 7% for the Tamil Nadu. A study found that the preventable cesarean sections or C-sections constitute between 3.1% and 8.4% of all the deliveries in the southern states of the Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana. Among the 21,499 women studied, the percentage of the preventable C-sections was 6.2%, and the percentage of C-sections was 44.3%. The percentage of preventable C-sections among all overall the C-section deliveries are 13.9%. At 3.1%, Kerala has the lowest number of preventable C-sections, while Telangana has the highest at 8.4% preventable C-sections, by 5.4% for the Andhra Pradesh, 6.2% for the Karnataka, and 7% for Tamil Nadu. Preventable C-sections was defined as a C-section delivery that was not planned prior to the onset of the labor, conducted at full term, and done without any interpartum complications such as breech presentation, transverse lie, a prolonged labor, and the excessive bleeding. The classification was based on the gestational mode of the delivery, timing of the decision, and the absence of intrapartum complications. Besides high out-of-the-pocket expenses, preventable C-sections result in the inefficient use of the health system resources, intraoperative risk and post-operative complications that impact the mother's and child's future health and well-being, notices the study. No phenotype data details in the Genome India's proposal call. The 10,000 Human Genome Project had collected with blood samples and associated phenotype data from over the 20,000 individuals representing the 83 population groups, 30 tribal and 53 non-tribal populations spread across India. DBT has completed the proposal call without disclosing what phenotype data are available. On January 9, 2025, the Department of the Biotechnology (DBT) called for proposals on translational research using a Genome India data from scientists based in India on February 28 days before the February 28 deadline for submitting proposals. DBT extended the deadline till the March 31st, 2025. The 10,000 Human Genome Project had collected blood samples and associated phenotype data from the over 20,000 individuals representing 83 population groups, 30 tribal and 53 non-tribal populations spread across India. Of the 20,000 individual preliminary findings, based on the genetic information of 9,772 individuals were published in the journal Nature Genetics as a comment on April 8. DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, makes headway in hypersonic technology. The long-duration active cooled scramjet subscale combustor ground testing was achieved for more than 1,000 seconds. DRDO demonstrated long-duration active cooled scramjet subscale combustor ground testing for more than 1,000 seconds. The DRDO on Friday, April 25, 2025, announced a significant milestone in the field of hypersonic weapon technology with the demonstration of the long-duration active cooled scramjet subscale combustor ground testing for more than 1,000 seconds. The ground test is continuation of the earlier test reported for 120 seconds in the January month of 2025. With the successful test, the system will be soon ready for the full-scale flight. Worthy combustor testing, DRDO said in a statement. This test validates the design of long-duration scramjet combustor as well as the test facility. Teaching children to eat well must begin in school. Food literacy is no longer a luxury. The focus must shift from just feeding children to teaching them how to eat well. Food and nutrition education is missing in the most classrooms is outdated and not linked to the real life. Last month, world leaders gathered in Paris for the Nutrition for Growth and Food Gene Summit. It was also a time for the United Nations General Assembly (UNGA) to announce the extension of the United Nations Decade of Action on Nutrition from its original time frame of the 2016-2025 to 2030. This extension seeks to sustain the global momentum to end all the forms of the malnutrition and align efforts more closely with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This could be a turning point in nutrition, not only to accelerate progress but also to shift the focus beyond the food access to understanding what people eat, how they eat, and why they eat. Especially when it comes to the children, nutrition is not just a health concern. It's intricately connected to education, equity, and environmental sustainability. Nigerian tribunal upholds $220 million fine against Meta for violating consumer data laws. Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) fined Meta last July for discriminatory and exploitative practices against the Nigerian consumers compared with other jurisdictions with the similar regulations. A $220 million fine against Meta by Nigeria's competition watchdog for violating consumer data protection and privacy laws has been upheld. A $220 million fine against Meta platforms by Nigeria's competition watchdog for violating local consumer data protection and privacy laws has been upheld following an unsuccessful appeal, Nigeria's Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal said on a Friday. Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) fined Meta last July for discriminatory and exploitative practices against the Nigerian consumers compared with other jurisdictions with similar regulations. Measles incidence on the decline in Karnataka, but pockets in BBPMP and Balarai record higher number of cases. Measles and rubella are highly infectious viral disease that can lead to the serious illnesses, lifelong complications, and even death. A file image of the wild of the measles, of mumps, and rubella. Although the incidence of the measles, a highly contagious viral infection, is on a decline in Karnataka, several pockets in the Balarai and PBMP have been consistently reporting high number of cases since 2024. According to the data of the State Health Department, the number of the laboratory confirmed clinically compatible and epilinked measles cases reduced from 4,001 in 2023 to 1,515 in 2024. This year, as of April 22 of 2025, the state recorded 292 cases. Likewise, the number of the Ebola cases have also reduced from 237 in the 2023 to 166 in 2024. This year, till April 2022, the state has recorded 92 Ebola cases. Now, at last, there is a famous personality of Nigeria, South Africa, who is famous by his name Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Born on 18 July 1918 up to 5 December 2013, was a South Africa anti-apartheid activist and a politician who served as the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. He was country's first black head of the state and the first elected in fully representative democratic election. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of apartheid by fostering racial reconciliation. Ideologically an African nationalist and socialist, he served as the president of the African National Congress Party from 1991 to 1997. Mandela served 27 years in a prison split between the Robben Island Pollsmoor prison and Victor Verster prison. Amid growing domestic and international pressure and fears of a racial civil war, President F.W. de Klerk released him in 1990. Mandela and de Klerk led efforts to negotiate an end to apartheid, which resulted in 1994 multi-racial general election, in which Mandela led the ANC to the victory and became the president. Leading a broad coalition government which promulgated a new constitution, Mandela emphasized reconciliation between the country's racial groups and created the Truth and the Reconciliation Commission to investigate a past human rights abuse economically. His administration retained its processor's liberal framework, despite his own socialist beliefs, also introducing measures to encourage land reform, combat poverty, and expand healthcare services. Internationally, Mandela acted as a mediator in the Pan Am Flight 103 bombing trial and served as the Secretary General of the Non-Aligned Movement from 1998 to 1999. He declined the second presidential term and was succeeded by his deputy Thabo Mbeki. Mandela became an elder statesman and focused on combating poverty and HIV/AIDS through the charitable Nelson Mandela Foundation. Mandela was a controversial figure for much of his life, although his critics on the right denounced him as a communist terrorist, and those on the far left deemed him too eager to negotiate and reconcile with the apartheid supporters. He gained international acclaim for his activism, globally regarded as an icon of democracy and social justice. He received more than 250 honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize. He is held in a deep respect within South Africa, where he is often referred to by his Thembu clan name Madiba and described as the father of the nation. Mr. Nelson Mandela says a very famous quotation. He says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. He also says that a winner is a dreamer who never gives up. Okay, thank you.